Hello, welcome to this second edition of Motivated and Money with me, Mark Terrell, and Fanny Snaith. How are you, Fanny?
Very well, thank you. In rainy Cheltenham, but hey, the sun is shining in my office as ever, so that's always good. How about you?
That's good. Yeah, good. Yeah, all good. Yes, very rainy here in North Bristol. It's not great. I think it's raining everywhere at the moment. So that's what we've got to look forward to for the next few days. I think a bit stormy weather coming across the Atlantic. So anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather, although we can talk about it
Us
forever.
Brits, eh? Us Brits.
I know. So we are here to talk about motivation and money. So I am a motivational specialist. I talk about motivation with regards to leadership and all that stuff. That's what I do. Fanny, what do you do?
Well, I'm a money coach and I work with heart-centered professionals who feel a little bit lost when it comes to money and want to basically get a plan, get a clarity, feel secure in their financial future and know that they're doing all the right things to help them feel that feel secure and confident in their lives. That wasn't very well said, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, well, money's an interesting thing, but we're gonna focus a bit on motivation today, aren't we? A little bit,
Yes.
and maybe, well, we will more focused on money probably next time. So if you are catching this live, then feel free to ask some questions, put some comments in, and we'll pick them up and we'll answer them as we can. If you're watching it on a replay, do the same, and we'll come back to you with any answers that you're looking for with regards to the topics that we're covering in this episode or previous episodes, which you'll find either on LinkedIn in my feed, or you can find it on YouTube and all sorts of places. So anyway, let's get cracking. So what should we going to talk about today then, Fanny?
Well, what we sort of touched on this at the end of last week as well, didn't we? We both work with a model. We got a lot of M's going on, haven't we? Even you with Mark, I just sort of fall down a little bit on that one. But we both use models, and I have to say I love a model. And with my money coaching, I use the money types, which were devised by the Money Coaching Institute in America. But you have a motivation model. And what we decided to do, wasn't it? You're gonna take me through your model this week and actually just have a little bit of a dig into it, because I just think these frameworks really help us to understand where we are. And in my space, or in my mind, consciousness and awareness of where we are at the moment is the springboard to being able to move somewhere else. Because if we don't know where we are, how do we know where we're going to go? So that was our idea, wasn't it? For you to take,
Absolutely.
I'm going to act as if I've never seen it before,
Yeah.
get you to talk me through it, and then I'll ask you some questions about it, and hope that will bring some good value to the people that are listening, help me as well, and help you get your model out there. How about that?
Okay, sounds fun to me. So last time we looked at the motivation map model. So if it's okay with you, I'll share the model that I share in my book, which is the
Absolutely.
seven-step model, which is the what I call measure. So getting the measure of your business, so it sort of makes sense, hopefully. And each of the letters relates to
I love
a
an
part of
acronym.
the 7 steps.
I love an acronym.
So shall I just run through the 7 steps firstly, so you've got a handle on what they are, and you can then we can dive into each one of them. So number
Sure.
one is mirror. So mirror is about you as a business owner understanding the things that are important to you. So motivation is part of that. Also understanding your behavioural style, the way you do things. You know, we all got our own way of doing things, haven't we? And it's about enhancing that, making sure that you're making the most of that, and being aware also that that might not be the same as other people that you're working with, and making sure that you're taking account of that. And also, with the important part of my model is understanding the leadership part. So your attitude to leadership is really important. So your mindset around leadership, and that's what another part of that mirror part of the process. So the next step is
taking a mirror and looking at yourself. That's really what you're talking about, and really understanding self-awareness around yourself.
And I think that's when models come in, that you can see that's where you fit in as well, which is where models are really useful. Next step is that we go into evaluate, and that's when we talk about the business and what is it you're trying to do, where are you going, what problem are you solving. That's in essence what the evaluates part is, understanding that every business is set up to solve a problem. What is it you're trying to solve? and why are you doing it, and how are you going to do it.
Got it.
Next step is take an action. So setting goals. What do you want to achieve? So this is key to any business. You want to know, where we can put some sort of marks in the sand as to when we're achieving things. So goal setting is really important. And then the next step is S, which is systemize. So I have come across so many clients and all sorts of other business where they fail to systemize their business. And I think, looking back to my retail days, that was one of the key reasons that we were successful, because we put in systems whenever we could, as soon as we could, make a system and let other people run those systems. And then the last three steps, the U, R, and E, are very much around the team element. So unify is about understanding how you get the best from people. Review is about how you review what you're doing, making sure that you're not just keeping going and not stopping and checking. Checking isn't generally an entrepreneurial thing. There's not many entrepreneurs I've come across that enjoy it. So they just want to go, and they've got this big vision. But just getting them to stop and take stock is a really important element. And finally, the energize is really that part where you're delegating your team, you're stepping back, which is where you need to be. If you're going to, the book's about creating a business that sets you free. You've got to have a point where you start stepping back, and your team takes the lead, and you're there as a support. So it's very important to understand that process. And you don't want to step back too soon, because if you step back too soon, then obviously the train sort of comes off the rails.
Okay, so
that's the 7 steps.
Okay, so we've got mirror, evaluate, action, systemize, unify, review, and energize.
You got it. Yeah.
All right, so we've got that. So what do I do with that next?
Okay, so the first step is obviously the mirror bit, understanding yourself. So you can't, because that really leads into all the other steps. It's how you do things. Let's face it. If you are aware of the way you do things, and also why you're doing things, then every other step is dependent on that. So it's not about. So my model is very much around creating something that's right for you. So it's not about changing you. It's about enhancing what you're about, and making sure that you're aware of your limitations, and making sure that when you start to employ or get people on board to help you, you get people that are different to you. Yeah, because if you get people that are all the same as you, then what you tend to create is a bit of a chaotic situation, because
battle at dawn.
Because you're all the same. You get on well. It's sort of fun, but then you start to realise, actually, we're not really getting much done here, because we sort of have a good time and nothing sort of progresses, because no one's sort of taking care of the detail and checking stuff and all that sort of stuff. So the mirror part is really important to get that clear in your head. What how do you do things? Why are you doing them? And also your leadership style. What does that tell you?
Okay. And how do you, in the process then, how do you go about evaluating that? Because that's all very well for me to look at that, but how do I start? I mean, just to go, well, look at yourself, Fanny. How are you doing? It's like, have you got a process?
Look at yourself in the mirror, just doing your teeth. That's all I'm asking you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, good question. Good question. So as we shared on last time's session, episode, whatever you want to call it, motivation is key. So using a tool called Motivational Maps to assess that, to find out what it is that's really important to you.
Was that the thing that you showed us last week?
That was what I showed you last week. The 9 motivators. And you remember I talked about 2 of the motivators being connected with money. One for making money, one for saving money. So that's a key. When you're in business, just talking about money for a bit, your attitude to money is really important, because are you in it to make money? Firstly, how strong is your drive? And if it's very low, so if money is your least important thing, how much attention are you going to pay to it? Probably not a lot. Yeah.
No, and it's the same as I would ask my clients as well. I'd say, well, how high is money up on your list of values? And actually, if it's not in the top 5, I remember going on a weekend with Dr. John D. Martini, and he was talking about this, and he calls a spade, right? He doesn't mess about with his words. And he was basically goes, look, it's quite simple. If money isn't in your top 5 and your top 5 list of values, you're not going to be wealthy.
Yeah.
But don't worry about that, because actually what you can do then is you can work on that and actually start to link some of your other higher values to wealth, because let's face it, everything links to money somewhere.
Exactly. So I was just going to say that. So what you've got to do with that is think about the things that do drive you, the motivators that are important to you, and then link it to those things that you don't see as important. So money, connecting it to, if I had more money, I could make more of a difference. So if making more of a difference is important to you, then clearly you need money to be able to do that in most instances. So connecting the things is a really powerful way of bringing things into a perspective that makes sense to you.
It could go the other way though, couldn't it, as well? Because you have many people who go into business just because of the money.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think about that?
Well,
that'll be a big money spinner. Let's just do this.
I think the interesting thing there is that you've got to get down to the why. Why is money so important to you? This is are we moving away from something or towards something?
Yeah.
So when money becomes a strong driver, and you can see, it'd be interesting to see what you think about this. Quite often, when it comes up as their number one driver, they say, well, it's not really about the money, it's about not being poor. I want to obey a position when I don't have to think about money. So at the moment, I'm just trying to get to a position where money isn't an issue anymore. And if I can create the income, then it won't be an issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is an away from, right? Rather than a towards.
That's right. Yeah. So it's not the point of I want lots of money. It's about I don't want to be poor, so I'm moving away from that situation.
Yeah, but which is fine. But I get that. But I was sort of thinking about the people that start a business. Let's say they come across, I don't know, they think, oh, this is going to just be a real money spinner. We'll go and print a load of t-shirts and sell them for 15, 20 quid each or whatever. And it's just literally about, I don't give a damn about my customer. I don't really care about the business. I don't care about, all I'm doing is I'm doing this just to earn a wage.
Yeah. But is that a long-term business model? Is it actually going to stand up in the rigors of the outside world? I doubt it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a balance, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've got to be aware of our top motivators and make sure they're fulfilled. But remembering that there's things that don't drive us, which are important for our business. So money is important. Taking responsibility is important, and security is important. So it's being aware. A lot of this is just about self-awareness. That's the key.
Absolutely.
If you're aware of things, you can then take action which is conscious.
And I think I really like the fact that you're looking at the person holistically, because I think we touched upon this last week, or maybe it was a conversation with somebody else, I don't know. But we're talking about how it's very easy to go and see a coach or somebody who's going to help you with your business, and they purely look at the strategy. I don't think that there's really much. I think that's quite an old-fashioned approach, in the fact that our energy, the person's energy that they take to the business, what energizes them and what depletes them of energy, is such an important part to look at.
I've had clients in the past that have just said, well, Mark, I just want you to tell me what to do. And I said, well, I can't tell you what to do, because you've got to have a business that is right for you. If I just tell you what to do, then that would be a business that's right for me, not for you. So we've got to get to the bottom of what is it you're in business to do. What's the outcome you're working towards? So
do you think so? When you were thinking about, when you talking about the reluctant leader, right? Which is, that is the name of your business, isn't it? The reluctant leader. Yeah. So it's the reluctant. This mirror stage then is probably an absolute fundamental part as to where the reluctance comes in.
Yeah, spot on.
Because it's not aligned.
Yeah, exactly right. So my reluctance about, actually, I don't want to be in charge. I don't want to be the person that's responsible and being the person that's managing the team. I'm quite capable of doing it. I've got all the skills. I've got, skills come out of my ears. I've done all the training, but thing is, it doesn't give me energy. I can do it for a short time. I can step into that role. That's fine. I can do it. I'm not going to throw my toys out. But if you say I've got to do it for a long period of time, I just say I'm not the right person, because ultimately I'll try and find a way out of it, because it's not something that I want to do. So you want to make sure that you are not falling into that trap of creating a business where you're doing loads of stuff that you don't want to do. And it's easy to do. It's easy to do that.
Very, very easy. Very, very easy to do that. And I see people. We're not going to be able to go through all of these today, are we?
I'll run through the model at the end.
But it doesn't. But it, hey, it doesn't matter though, because I think it's important. Because again, it's people rising up through the ranks in corporate. And you're almost, I think, expected to do that. That's almost part of your career path. And you start out at a beginner level, which is, okay. And then you go up the ranks and you get to the next job. But again, it's very, very easy to become that reluctant leader, and very, very easy to become in the management slot that really feels so uncomfortable. But if you turn it down and you don't take it on, you're going to be shunned and looked down upon for some reason.
I think that is very true in certain organisations, probably public sector particularly, but I think more private sector businesses are realising that actually you've got to give not just a path upwards, you've got to give a broader opportunities across a business, as opposed to keep going up, because we know that there comes to a point where you have to take responsibility in management roles. And that's fine, but if it's not right for you, then if you take it, then you could be the best person that, let's say the best salesman becomes a sales manager and then fails. So that business then creates a problem for itself. It lost the best salesman, and it's created a problem because they've got the person that doesn't want to lead and doesn't want to be in charge. So it can really be costly if you don't sort of take this on board for the individual and for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so just to recap, then we're using the 9 motivators to help us with our mirror, to look at ourselves, to really evaluate, like do our own little project on personal development within our business, to find out where we are, to be able to then move on to looking at our business, which is the evaluate bit. How do we go about that? So say I've got a team of 15 people.
So evaluate is about the problem you solve. The business is a problem solver. That's what businesses are, aren't they? So you've got to think about, what problem are you solving? How are you going to do it? And that's not just about the way you go about it, but also the values that you hold dear, that you want to make sure that you follow, and your why. So why is connected to your motivators, about those things that are so. Evaluating sort of leads on from the mirror stage.
So this is when Rodney, who's got his 10 boxes of 500 t-shirts, that's when he sort of starts to come unstuck.
Yeah, because you've got to know what your market is. I mean, are you just going to go tour around? Or are you going to go to the market and set up a stall and sell your t-shirts? Or are you actually going to think about, well, who do I want to buy these t-shirts? Are they special? Is it a special market? Is the logo going to be specially for a certain type of person, or are they just going to be white t-shirts so that anyone could buy them? But then, why would they buy them if they've got nothing on them? And so, this is when marketing comes into it, and I talk a little bit about it in the book. But if you get your head around marketing, marketing isn't just about promoting yourself and advertising. It's about understanding the market that you're going into, who you want to serve, so that you can talk their language. So yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, if we're carrying on with the analogy of Rodney and his t-shirts, then yeah, we've got to make sure that the t-shirts are the right t-shirts for the market.
Yeah, and if it's just t-shirts this week and bicycle pumps next week, and I don't know, something else, money boxes the next week, it's just a make do and grab, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's very much this is a visioning stage. It's about the problem you want to solve. What is it you want to change in the world? Let's face it, we can be that sort of, a bit more visionary with regards to how we go about things these days. We can connect it to a bigger purpose, especially with the things that are going on in the world, and the world is sort of suffering with all sorts of things at the moment. If we can connect to that, people like that. People want to see that our business is set up not just to make money. It's making the world a better place. That I think that's a good thing to build into your evaluation stage.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's evaluate.
Yeah.
Then action.
So action is about taking steps, setting goals that what do you want to achieve and how can you measure them? That's the key thing here. So how are you going to measure them, and how are you going to notice when things are going well? And also, if you've already got a team on board, are you actually telling people that things are going well? So it's very much about noticing, telling people, reaffirming, that's what we're about, that's what we want to do more of. And then when things aren't going so well, you say, that's not quite what we're about. We need to change that. That's not the route we want to go down. So this is very much about catching people doing things right and all those sort of things. But so it's about being in this stage as well as not just the doing bit. It's being that person where you are showing up, noticing what's going right, reinforcing that good stuff, but also picking up when things aren't quite right. So that's what the action stage is very much focused around.
Okay. And then the systemize. I cannot tell you. So I've been running my business. I say business almost in inverted commas, because to be fair, first few years it was a hobby business, and then all of a sudden you suddenly realize that you've got customers coming to you and you think, oh my gosh, I need to treat this a little bit more seriously now, etc. And again, that's a great mirror exercise too, right? And now I'm in a situation where I'm looking at my systems and realize that I've built this sort of like white elephant that's held together, been broken a couple of times and held together with sticking plaster. And you think, oh dear, I really wish that I'd started this off. You think that you start it out okay. Actually, the people that I've been talking to recently have said that my systems aren't too bad, but they feel fractured to me. And I'm noticing now how important it is. So where do you sort of come into a business's life? What's the ideal time for you to take on this systemize as part of measure?
Well, there's the various ways you can come at it. One of the things I share in the book is about there's a great tool called the Business Canvas, where basically it encourages you to bring all the elements of your business together and put them on. Well, it creates a sort of a chart, really. I suppose you just fill in the boxes.
I've just done that. I've not done that.
Yeah, it was a great way, isn't it? So you think about all what's important to you, and your suppliers and all that sort of thing, and the marketplace. Once you've done that, if you're really creative, then you could take it to a graphic designer and say, look, this is what our business is about. Can you make it like really pictorial? I want to put it on the wall. And then people, when they walk into my business, they can see, that's what we do. Make it visuals. That's the part I was talking about. So you can take that, what you've just done, that exercise, and make it into something that really sort of represents your business.
So, okay, maybe we are talking about things slightly differently, because when I was talking about, when I was doing the systemize, I was going, well, I've got my active campaign that does this, and I've got my Acuity that does this, and I've got that does that, and then my Facebook for this, and then I've got LinkedIn. Is that sort of what you mean? Or
No, it's a bit of a higher level than that. You're talking about the tools you do to put processes in place. So really, it's a higher level as the, how does the business work? What are the things that are crucial to this business? So if I go back to my retail days, so the crucial things is that there's the actual building is obviously, that's a location that has to be looked after, and all the maintenance got to happen. Then we've got suppliers, and we've got key suppliers that if they went bust, what would happen, sort of thing. So you've got to think, well, those are the things you put in place and make sure the relationships are good, that because they're key to the business. If mine as a supplier, maybe a local egg supplier, if they sort of went out of business, then you probably find another egg supplier fairly quickly. Yeah. Whereas if you've got a delivery that comes in every week from a main warehouse, if that went wrong, then you've got big problems. And that actually happened to the business, that we sort of sold. If we'd have stayed in business, then there was a big change in that business, and the main wholesaler was changed, and that business created chaos, and the wholesaler basically caused chaos. So these things are really important to get a view of what's important to the business, so that anybody that comes into the business, you can say, well, that's what we work to. These are our key suppliers. They're the supplier. They're the customers that we serve. This is all the elements. And if it's a new employee, you say, and this is where you fit in. This is what's important to you. And visual. I'm quite visual. I don't know about you, but if you've got a visual thing, then people find it easier rather than giving them a list of things like to read, then I think a pictorial thing is consumed quicker.
Yeah, yes, I like pictorial things. I often draw pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the systemize of the business. And then I suppose, because I keep banging on about it, you can go onto a different level and go down onto that one. So look, we've nearly done half an hour now, and we've done the first 4 of measure.
Yeah.
I think rather than swamp people with it this time, why don't we do some more? Why don't we finish it off next time?
Yeah.
And do it, because I think this is a really valuable exercise, and it's just for somebody who's especially somebody who's starting a business who might be listening to this. Yeah. This could be a really fantastic, just an eye opener as to sort of thinking, God, I'm not really thought about that. And interestingly, where I work with in the business model that I use, we work with they're called business archetypes. And one of the business archetypes is the innocent, and it's the one that's got this fantastic idea, thinks it's going to be absolutely great, and just sort of launches into it from a very naive point of view, with all due respect, with not very much research, spoken to a couple of mates about it, thinks that the business is going to be good, goes and rents an empty shop on the high street because there are so many of them, and they can probably get a really good deal for the first year, etc. And then sort of sets up and stands there smiling behind the counter, and really that's sort of it. And that just to actually stop and I know actually to a certain extent, when I started my business, I literally thought, oh, well, now I am what I am, the phone will just ring. And it just isn't like that. It just isn't like that. So these kind of steps are actually very, very valuable to go through.
I think what we've gone to is the key to most businesses. The next 3 steps are very much about developing a team, which some people will never get to that stage and never want to, and I understand that. So it might be a natural thing that we can come back to in a session about the team elements of the model. So if I just run through the 7 steps again, then just for the hell of it. So I've got them on here.
Oh, so, why didn't you should have shown us this before, Mark?
Well, I didn't know, So we talk about mirror. Yeah. Then we talk about evaluate. Next step is action. Yeah. Systemize. Unify, which is about starting to develop your team. Reviewing, checking, making sure that you're on track.
Plan, do, review. I always remember that one. Yeah.
And then finally, energizing and empowering your team, which is my motivated model.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
Yes, I know. So there you have it. So, if you've got any questions about the other 3 steps, then feel free, and maybe we might come back to this at a later date.
And let's have a look at the book, Mark, shall we?
The book. This is the book. It's all covered in the book. Motivated.
Excellent.
The book. Available from my website or Amazon, which goes through all 7 steps. And there's also 2 other steps as well, which very much about personal development, understanding. You've got to enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you resonate with that. It's not all plain sailing. We just mentioned it. It's not plain sailing, so you've got to take the rough with the smooth and be resilient with regards to that. Yeah. And also looking after yourself. Yeah. So you've got to be in your best place you can be, looking after, making sure you get the sleep, and you're looking after. And it's all about energy levels. I start the book talking about, this book is all about energy. Yeah. It's about managing energy, understanding where you get energy from. And that could
the world is about energy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, what is it? Is it Einstein? He said, energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can be shifted from one place to another. That sort of thing, I think it was. That's not a very good quote, but that's roughly what he said. And
I think every business transaction is a transfer of energy, isn't it? It should be. If it's a positive or negative, then if it's a positive energy flow, then it tends to be that the business actually happens, but there's not much comes out of a negative energy flow, is there?
Exactly, but this is why money gets such a bad press, because money is a tool, but the energy with which it's exchanged between 2 people is where all the problems come. It's not money.
Pricing our service. You think, I've got a fantastic, and then people say, how much is it? And you think, oh, how much is it? That's a good question.
But even on a personal level, you'll be quite happy to go out Christmas shopping or birthday shopping for all these people, and then when somebody comes to give you a present, you feel so uncomfortable about receiving things. Everything is to do with exchange, and if you're not happy within yourself on the exchange of money backwards and forwards, both ways, because it's a two-way street, right? You can't have any kind of exchange without a recipient and a giver.
Yeah.
Then you're going to run into problems.
That's really interesting. I think that's a good topic for next time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But that sort of is it, really. That people come to me, they go, "Why am I so rubbish with money?" And I go, "You're not rubbish with money. It's about the exchange and the knowledge around it." And like you about joining the journey, I talk about financial adventure, which I know we will. And I always say it's, we're not talking Wizard of Oz here. We're talking Indiana Jones. There's going to be a bumpy ride along the way. However, the more prepared and the more resilient you become, the more fun it becomes. I mean, let's face it, Indy had some fun, right?
Yeah.
Even if he was diving into a nest of vipers.
My dad always used to say you got to speculate to accumulate. So nothing happened with you. You can't keep your money in your pockets. You've got to at some point put it on the table and do something with it. So and that's when it gets a bit uncomfortable, I suppose, because there's so many choices.
Yeah. Well, and all the messages that we received as children, and just how we feel about ourselves.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Oh God, the whole lot. I mean, can't afford it. Rich. Right. I mean, where do we go? Anyway, that was
anyway.
Really
we've done our half an hour. We're a bit late, so we had a few technical issues, but we got over them. We're here, so that and we've got through half an hour. It's flown by again, so hopefully that's a good thing. Hopefully it's flown by for anybody that's been watching, and also that catches this on a replay. So I've added these to the credits. You will be able to see where to contact us. But before we finish, then Fanny, where can people find you?
Easy, fannysnaith.com. It's not a difficult name, really. Well, it's a difficult name, but it's not an ordinary name. So fannysnaith.com is my website. Pop over there if you fancy it. Have a go at the money type quiz. There's also my other contact details on there. So yeah, that's the place to start.
Okay, and that will be on the credits at the end. And for me, my website is thereluctantleader.academy, and again, all my details there, some free stuff to download and all the other stuff that might be useful to you. And if you want to get in touch, then feel free. So thanks, Fanny. It's been great again. I know we can't make next Tuesday, but we don't know when it will be next. The next
we'll do another
episode
time.
Will be, but it will be here, wherever you've been watching this, same place, just a different time of day.
Yeah. Take care.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.